Hello and welcome to Health Matters on Channels Television. We are glad you could join us. I am Mary Alale Yusuf. Malaria is endemic to the African region. Perhaps for this very reason, people who live in these areas do not take it seriously. Have you ever heard of ordinary malaria? Well, it is actually a life-threatening disease caused by the bite of infected female Anopheles mosquitoes. In 2021, there were approximately 247 million cases of malaria worldwide. These resulted in about 619,000 deaths. 95% of the cases and 96% of the deaths were in Africa. That's over 234 million malaria cases in Africa that year, and over 490,000 deaths. Of these deaths, over 475,000 were children under 5 years old. After decades of trying, a vaccine, RTSS, was approved in 2021 for broad use in children found in endemic regions. Now, first Ghana, then Nigeria have approved another vaccine purported to be much more effective called R21. My guest is CEO of AfriHealth Optonet Association, former chairman, National World Malaria Day Committee, Nigeria 2019. He's also the executive secretary, Nigeria Universal Health Coverage Actions Network. Dr. Uzodimma Adireje is speaking from our Abuja studio. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let me first ask you, it's said that every child born in the malaria endemic areas already has a bit of malaria in their body. So shouldn't that cause immunity rather than more deaths?
It hasn't been so. It has not really caused more immunity. But the good thing is that, during the antenatal stages, mothers are also treated for malaria, so that in its own provides a first level of defense for the fetus and the child. I think that would take care of it at that point. And then as the child is born and the child maybe gets into any malaria situation, that can also be treated because there are medical materials for that. There are medicines, drugs, and approaches to take care of pediatric malaria.
Okay, so experts say in some cases death can occur within 24 hours. But you say test before you treat. So how feasible is it for someone to test, verify, start treatment in that short space of time? When usually what people do is they say, let's wait, let me take some painkillers first, maybe for the first day.
The first thing is that whenever a child is ill, the first thing to do is to take the child to a clinician, to a health facility where properly trained personnel will take care of that individual, that child. And then from there, they will take the best decision that suits the child at that time. What we essentially advise against is self-medication or assumed diagnosis, which is what most people do, and it may cause some untoward consequences. So the first thing and best thing to do is, if the child presents with fever at that point, please, among what you're also told to do testing, is to take the child to a facility first, and then the qualified personnel in the facility will take care of the rest of the attention.
Okay, now Ghana and Nigeria have approved a new vaccine, the R21. Before the publication of final stage trials, before even approval of WHO, how was it vetted? Why the speed?
I wouldn't really say that it was done with a speed. It was properly vetted by the appropriate agencies in Nigeria. For instance, NAFDAC did its own proper vetting with its personnel, it was done. In Ghana, the same thing was done. And if you ask me, malaria vaccine coming to Africa in 2023 is very late. So I wouldn't talk about anything about rushing. There was no rush. I believe and accept that due diligence has been taken by the authorities in both Ghana and Nigeria in trying to roll out the R vaccines.
Okay,
malaria.
But when did...
So I don't think there is anything like a rush.
This is a bit unprecedented. You know, we usually wait for the WHO to say it's okay, start to use it in children between age so and so and age so and so, but we didn't wait for that. At what point did we make that shift? At what point did we become able, should I say strong enough scientifically to do this by ourselves?
I think the WHO has given its approval. The WHO
They're still looking at final stage publications.
Even before Ghana took the decision and Nigeria took it, WHO has given its approval.
Okay. So typically, bodies like Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, move in with funding, but only after WHO approval. So now you're saying WHO has approved, although everything I read tells me they're still looking at final stage publication data. But how soon do you think we're going to have a rollout?
So that would actually depend on the next actions to be taken by both Ghana, Nigeria, WHO, the Indian company that is producing the vaccines, and the rest of us who are stakeholders. I expect this to be very soon because malaria is not waiting for anybody. Like you rightly said in the course of your speech, millions are being daily affected by by malaria. So I expect that rollout will be very quickly, and the earlier the better. We've waited for too long for malaria vaccine, and now we have it. There's really nothing we should be waiting for. People are dying.
This is one of the reasons why I'm asking. We never did see a wide rollout of the RTSS. At least in Nigeria, we didn't see that. Why did that happen? I mean, RTSS has been with us since October last year.
You don't really do massive rollout when you are on a trial. The trial is for a specific population to check how well the system will receive this regimen, how well it will work, how well it will live up to expectation before a rollout, and there will be a report. So you don't do rollout while still trying to check whether it is okay or not. And then the population that is usually used in testing vaccine efficacy and how well it will work is not usually a very large one. So these were all done. It's a small population, and then every other thing will be taken care of, resulting from maybe adverse effect following immunization or anything that will follow that. But these arrangements were made in the course of this vaccine.
Okay.
The only thing is that while it is on trial, people don't go publicizing everything, because until you get to the end and you're satisfied with the performance of the medicine, you don't really begin to make so much noise about it.
They told us RTSS is 30% effective. But the R21, the effectiveness was put at 80%. Can you give us a hint why the disparity? What is making R21 so effective? What's the secret? After up to a century of trying to get an answer, you know, we're having something that they say is 80% effective. That is just mind-blowing. How? What's the secret?
Now, short of saying what the secret is, I would let you know that once you begin to experiment on any vaccine, there is a scale-up in improvement with each trial. When RTSS was rolled out and tried, and it gave the result of 30% or thereabout, it wasn't desirable. So R20 is an improvement which has been done, is an improved vaccine, and it has been done, and then as it has also been seen to be more effective, and then is rolled out. I think the bottom line would be for us to look at how much it will be made available, how soon and how quickly it will be made available, how affordable it will be, how far-reaching its distribution will be, and how much it continues to live up to the expectation and performance that has made it so recommended. I think these are the things we should be looking at for now.
Well, the serum company in India, which you talked about, is offering to make millions of doses available, 25 million doses every year. How far do you think that will go?
I think it will go a long way, and I also expect that over time this 25 million will go up. It will be possible to produce more. It will go a long way because we'll be coming from a period when we don't have 1 million immunized to when we potentially have 25 million. And I expect that the first set of rollout of the massive deployment of vaccines will be in Africa, and that way more than 90% of people that are affected with malaria in the world who are really in Africa, sub-Sahara, would receive the attention and vaccines they deserve in time and as appropriate. So I think it's okay, 25 million per annum, but I expect that after the first or second year, it will be possible to scale up the production.
You know, it
more than 25 million.
It must scale up because the recommendation, at least when they said it was 3 doses for one person and a booster a year after. So that's approximately 4 per person, which means the 25 million will not go that far.
The expectation is that when they say 25 million, it would be 25 million on the doses of that. Those 3 and the booster will constitute 1. It will be something that will reach 25 million people and appropriately have enough doses of the vaccines. That is what I expect. I am not expecting that they will make 24 million vaccines that will be divided into 4. I'm expecting they will make 25 million of the initial vaccines that will take the 3 doses, and then the one that will also, another 25 million of the one that will serve at the booster. That's what I'm expecting.
Okay. With the introduction of this vaccine, let's say we start using the vaccine, it's 80% effective. That's mind-blowing, like I said. Will we still need other interventions, such as residual spraying, long insecticide-treated nets and all that?
Yes, we will, but not in the scale in which we need them now. For instance, we'll expect that if 25 million people are vaccinated against malaria and given the booster, and they are okay, that is 25 million people taking off the frequent malaria cases that will be reported. So every aspect of malaria intervention will actually receive a level of scale down as we begin to have the vaccines and people get vaccinated and then live with some level of immunity. And it is also possible after some time to have what we call a herd immunity, whereby even the rate at which malaria is transmitted by mosquito would reduce, because many people that the mosquito will be biting to pick up the plasmodium parasite to go and transmit to another person would now be proven negative for the parasite. Thank you.
That is something to look forward to. I'm just imagining it. Well, let's pick that up after the break. We're going on a short break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We're moving towards zero malaria. This is Health Matters on Channels TV. If you want to ask any questions, call 0808 054 2233. That's 0808 054 2233. You can tweet at CTV_Mary A, or you can send email to moalale@channelstv.com. Dr. Uzodimma Adereje is still with us, and I want to quickly go back to residual spraying. Are there any concerns of climate, distortion, the chemicals? Is anybody scared, or has there been any proof that it's bad for the environment?
Well, so far, if there have been anything, the benefits outweigh the disadvantages. So the indoor residual spray is still recommended as a measure to reduce the effect of the actions of mosquitoes on people within the house. We still recommend it because it is still effective, and its disadvantages as maybe affecting the environment have not really become serious issues in its application. So we still recommend the IRS to continue. We still recommend other measures that are being taken to treat and prevent malaria to be continued, while we wait to heartily welcome the vaccines rollout.
Okay, I want to read
Thank you.
A few countries out for you. There are some countries that have been certified malaria-free. And this is without vaccines. Maldives in 2015, Sri Lanka in 2016, Kyrgyzstan in 2016, Paraguay 2018, Uzbekistan in 2018, Argentina in 2019, China 2021, El Salvador 2021, without vaccines. What can we learn from them? What did they do? Why are they malaria-free?
Okay, I think the first thing we look at is the malaria burden of the various countries you just talked about. Their malaria burden is quite low. The malaria burden in Africa, and especially Nigeria, is much higher. So whatever measures they took, of course, they've taken the various measures that are recommended for malaria elimination and control. But the challenges we have in countries like Nigeria also have to do with the number of people who are down with malaria, the country malaria burden, as well as resources to take care of these measures and provide them in ways that they reach every hamlet and everyone. These are the things. So the difference arises from the respective countries' malaria burden, which I would say are very much low, much lower than what it is in Nigeria and Africa. And that's principally the issue. If you look at what we've been talking about, 95% of all malaria cases occur in Africa, but the countries you mentioned are not in Africa. So they are part of the rest of the world that have 5% of malaria burden. It is much easier to eliminate a disease within a small group of those that are affected than when you have multi-millions being affected. At best, what we've been able to do and will continue to do is to have therapeutic interventions, preventive measures, take care of our habits and attitudes and behaviors, and do some behavior change levels, and now introduce the vaccines.
Okay, we're having a call from Bola in Lagos. Hello, Bola.
Hello, good morning.
Bola, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. What's your question?
Yes, please. Thank you for your enlightening program.
You're welcome.
Whether the vaccine is only for children, number one. Are they considering the sickle cell patients who are mostly affected by malaria infestation? And whether they are children or they are adults, are they thinking of giving them priority? And I would like to know whether adults are allowed to take the vaccination. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I don't know if you heard her, Doctor.
Unfortunately, I didn't.
Well, she's asking,
so you may come.
Are these vaccines for children? Who is going to be given priority? And also the complication of people with sickle cell anemia who usually get this disease. How is this vaccine going to be distributed, and who is it for?
Okay, let's start with who the vaccine is for. For now, the vaccine will be rolled out for children who are 6 months to 36 months.
That's 3 years.
That's who it will be rolled out for. And every other measure, including those who may have adverse effects with it, will be taken care of as they arise. Let me also say something. Even though that this vaccine has been approved and will duly be rolled out, it will not still be out of place to have adverse effects in some people. But that will be very minimal and can always be reported. We are not looking forward to that, but it is a possibility. So the vaccine will be rolled out for children who are 6 months to 3 years. And then remember, it is an ongoing thing, and as time goes on, it will be possible also, like I said, to scale it not just up vertically, but also scale it up horizontally to reach other population of pregnant women, adults, young people, and so on.
Okay, so you said something about herd immunity. I want to ask you, so you're saying that it can get to a point where people will not be getting malaria because those who have had the vaccine are not getting infected. Does that mean...
Yes, please.
Is this the beginning of elimination? Are we seeing a time where we'll be talking about malaria in the past tense, like measles, like smallpox?
I am optimistic we will get to that.
Wow. Okay.
I'm optimistic we will get a time with appropriate measures, appropriate actions, appropriate interventions, diligent execution of these interventions. We'll get to a point where malaria will become a thing of the past.
Okay.
And
no
that
doubt.
will not be too long.
No doubt. This has to be.
Hopefully.
Sorry. Go on.
Okay, provided and hopefully that the government and every stakeholder who is involved in this does what ought to be done in order to increase levels of partnerships and collaboration in rolling out the vaccines and preventing malaria, in levels of doing advocacy to the relevant persons, institutions, and persons to ensure that there is a lot of buy-in into the malaria vaccine distribution and acceptance in order to continue research in the malaria vaccine rollout and other prevention measures, and then build capacity locally, both clinically and especially in the civil society and communities, for people to understand and let other people, influence other people to access these services. And then be able to also do some outreaches to very hard-to-reach areas where malaria is prevalent, but health facilities and services are very scarce. And of course, we continue to monitor and evaluate these interventions.
I'm sorry, let me quickly cut in to take Shehu, who is calling from Nasarawa. Hello, Shehu. Hello, Shehu, are you there? It looks like we've lost Shehu. Okay.
Sorry.
Looks like we've lost Shehu. So no doubt we have to have a vertical scale-up of the vaccines. We must have more than 25 million doses after some time. But what happens when adults have an infection? Cross-infection. I'm thinking about cross-infection between people because some people will still be having the malaria. How long do you think it can take for herd immunity to be achieved?
I think it will not be as long as we are thinking, because if we succeed in reducing the rate of infection as will be caused through mosquito bite, and we then create a situation whereby people are now healthy enough not to expect that malaria would easily and readily catch up with them, it will bring a lot of both savings in terms of human resources, material resources, time used and money spent, and even the loss in human dignity as a result of malaria. And I think that with that, one, people will get to know from those who already have the vaccines that indeed this vaccination works. Two, this will lead to an increase in demand for the vaccine by people from all over. Three, this also lead to increase in production of the vaccines demand. So I expect that with time, it's not only the company in India that will be producing, that it will be possible to grant patent to some companies in Africa to also produce locally. And who says there may not be other forms of the vaccine that will also be rolled out and certified for usage? These are all things that I expect will happen in the course of the next very few years, because malaria is an urgent matter.
It's certainly looking bright, and I wish them all the luck. We need it, they need it, Nigeria needs it. Thank you so much, Doctor, for coming on the show. This has been really, really enlightening. I enjoyed myself. I want to also thank Bola and Shehu who called in, and everybody who is watching. Have a wonderful day. I am Mary Alale Yusuf.